In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how you can use various reliefs or the relief clip art within ArtCAM Express 2015 R2. And I'm going to show you a few tips on using this. Now you can see this is the piece that I'm going to actually be producing. This is various pieces of relief clip art, and I'm going to show you how you can do this just in the basic version of ArtCAM Express. Okay, so let's close this image. And here you can see that I've just got the basic version of ArtCAM Express open up. If you take a look on the right hand side, you can see that I've got no modules installed here. Okay, so let's create a new model first of all, and I'm going to give this a height of 400 and let's say a width of 600 like so. I'm going to select OK. And that's going to create a new model for me. Now what I'm going to do straight away is to go to the 3D view and let's just take a plan view of that. Okay. Now the first thing that I want to do is to import an image rather than a relief from a piece of clip art. Now if you import an image as a relief, it will automatically create the image as a relief at a specified thickness. So what I'm going to do is open up this folder, and I've got a couple of wooden textures here. So I've got this one here, and I've also got this wooden texture here, and I think I'm going to use this one. I probably like this one a little bit more. These have just been downloaded off the internet, nothing special about these. So what I'm going to do is, rather than going to file and then just open up an image, what I'm going to do is go to reliefs, and I'm going to select to import a relief. But I'm not going to import a relief, I'm going to import an image. Okay, so here's my folder, and here's my wood texture. Now as soon as I select to open this, it will automatically create this as a piece of floating clip art. Okay, so there you can see it's created this as a piece of floating clip art. So what I'm going to do is just bring that down to, let's say, around about there. Let's just snap onto the edge there. And let's bring this down also, like so. And let's just snap onto the edge there. Okay, so there you can see it's created this bit of floating clip art. Now the Z range is probably a little bit high at the moment because I just want this to be just a faint bit of texture. Okay, so let's bring that down to 0.2 and apply. And I'm just going to paste this down like so. And you can see that it's automatically created this texture for me. Okay, so that's how you can import an image and resize it and then paste that down as a relief. Okay, so I'm going to start building this piece up by just adding reliefs onto this. Now the reason that I've done this first is because you'll see later, if I were to do this afterwards, I only want this texture to be on the sign base. I don't want this texture to be on the wings. If I were to do this last, I wouldn't be able to control where I was going to put this, and it would be on the wings, and I don't want that. I don't want wooden wings. Okay, so that's why I've put this down first. Okay, so let's import a sign base. Now this is just a standard piece of relief from the relief clip art library. Now I could just do a search in here. You can see that we've got a live search, so if I start typing sign, now the only problem with this is that it's limited to a maximum number of files, and the sign base that I actually want is not on there. So what I want to do is go to bases. Let's just close this search and let's select a sign base. Let's say this crest here, like so. Drag that in. Let's take a plan view of that. And what I'm going to do is make this a little bit larger. Let's say let's say around about 250, like so. Let's center that so I know it's in the center. Let's just bring that down, let's say to about there, like so. Now importantly, I need to create an outline for this, and I'm going to be using that to machine to. Now what you can do with imported Clipart is that you can actually paste the vector of the outline down. So if I go here to Relief Clipart paste options, I can paste outline vector down. Now if I were to paste this down at the moment, because I've got the combine mode set to merge high, it would actually just give me exactly what's on the screen here. And that's not really what I want, because I want this texture to go on the inside of the sign base or the crest. So the way that I can do that is set the combine mode to add, and what this will do, it will just add the texture that's underneath onto the top of this crest. So if I select paste now, you can see that it's created the vector, and it's also added the texture onto the top of this. That's exactly what I want. Now I don't really want the texture on here, which is the very top edge of the sign base, but that's not a problem because I'm going to machine that off later. So I need to just make a note of the actual height of that texture. It was 0.2 millimeters, so I need to remember that for later so I can machine that off. Okay, so here you can see I've got my sign base started, and you can see that I've got the texture on the top. So let's find some wings now. So let's take a plan view of this, open up the Relief Clipart library again. Now to be completely honest, I'm not got a clue where there are some wings within my Clipart library, so what I'm going to do is just type in wing, like so. You can see that I've got these wings pop up here. Let's grab this wing here, drag that in, like so. Let's resize this. Let's make it a bit larger. Let's try about, let's say about 180, like so. And then I'm just going to move that to around about there. Now you can see that I've got a little problem here, and that's the wing is actually going through the sign base, and I don't really want that. Now what I could do is change the Z range, just keep on changing it until it goes below. That's what we used to do, but now there's a new feature in R2 which basically allows you to do this in real time. So if I zoom in, you can see that I've got this red arrow in the center here. What I can do is just grab that, drop that down, and it just drops the height down, and I can basically just straight away know where it touches through, so I can bring that up and down. Okay, so let's just bring that down. Looks like it's about 5 millimeters, but that would have taken me a little while to work out previously. A lot of trial and error. And you can see it's just a one-shot tool now. You just grab it, bring that down. Okay, so importantly, I need to change the combine mode to merge high. So it's going to basically merge into this. If I didn't do that, I would have the wing sitting on top of the sign base, and I would also have the texture on top of this. So when you're basically combining reliefs from the Relief Clipart library and Express, you need to make sure that you get the right combine modes. Okay, I can't stress that enough, because otherwise you won't have the desired effect. So merge high will basically give you what you can see with the clip art. Okay, so that's automatically set to merge high. Okay, so if I select paste now, you can see that that's given me exactly what I wanted. Okay, so I'll just do that again so you can see it again on the other side. So let's open up the Relief Clipart library, let's drag in this wing. Okay, now you can see that I've got a little bit of a problem here, and that is that the wing's just going in one direction. Now that's not a problem whatsoever. What we can do is just treat the clip art as though it's a vector. So if we go to mirror objects And I'm just going to do this horizontal. Let's do it across the center, like so. And you can see that it's just mirrored that. Okay, so it's not a problem, just treat it as though it's a vector. Okay, and let's bring that up, let's say about 180 again. Let's try and get this in the same sort of position. Let's say about there. Let's rotate around. Let's bring the height of this down. Say to about there. And then I can just paste that down. Okay, so if I turn off the vectors, just take a plan view, you can see that I've got my two wings. Okay, so I'm going to show you a really nice trick now that you can create basically flat surfaces or flat reliefs within ArtCAM Express. Now normally you would need ArtCAM Insignia to do this, and we would use what we call the shape editor. This allows you to create flat reliefs. It also allows you to create domed beveled reliefs. But if you want to create a flat relief, like I want to in this example, because I want to create somewhere where I can create some text on here, what you can do is, let me just open this here. What I've created here is just a white picture or a white image with a black border. Now if you import this into ArtCAM, what this will do, it will set the black as 0, and then you can use that handle that I just showed you to change the Z value, and you can actually bring the white bit up and you can create a flat relief or a flat surface if you like. And you can change the size of this also. So I'm going to show you how this works. So let's go back to ArtCAM. Now I'm going to do this exactly the same as the texture previously. So if we go to reliefs, and I'm going to import, and I'm going to import this black border image that I have here. Now if you type in Google black border white square or something like that, I know that lots and lots of these come up. It saves you even having to make your own. There's lots that you can just get straight off the internet. Okay, so if I select open, you can see that it's basically imported this flat relief, which is just a piece of clip art that's flat. Okay, and I can resize that to whatever size I like. So I'm going to make this, let's say, a bit smaller. This is for some writing to go on. Let's make that, let's say, about 120, like so. Let's center that. Can bring it down, let's say, to about there. Let's bring the width of that down, let's say about 25mm, like so. And let's rotate around. Now you can't see this. If I were to paste this down, you wouldn't see anything. What I can do though is grab this handle, bring that up, and you can see that I can create this flat plane or this flat surface or relief. Okay, so if I bring that down to, let's say, about there, and then I can paste that down. If I turn off the vectors, you can see that I've created this flat relief. Okay, so that's a really good, useful tip if you want to create any flat reliefs in ArtCAM Express. Get yourself a black border image, import it in like I've just done, and then you can bring that up. Okay, so I'm going to do that again just in case you missed it. So let's go to reliefs, import, select the image. See that this is absolutely huge at the moment, so let's bring that down. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, let's say about 150, like so, and center that. Let's make it a little bit bigger, let's say about there, and center that. Okay, so what I can do is exactly the same thing. This is where my cat photo is going to sit. So I can bring that up. You can see that I'm creating this flat So let's bring that down to about there. Now what I'm going to do with this is, rather than just leaving it like that, I'm going to actually enter a round number because I need to know this for when I actually do the machining. So let's make that 6mm, and then I'm going to paste that down. Okay, so if I turn off the vectors, you can see that I've got these two flat reliefs. One of them is to put my cat image on there, and the other one is for some text. Now there's one little problem when I created that one. If I just zoom in on the corner here, you can see that I've got this really rubbish vector that it's created. That's just because of the pixels being a little bit out there. So what I'm going to do is, let's just delete that vector, and I'm going to create a new vector. Let's say about there. Let's create a new rectangle. Just zoom in like so. So you can see that I've got this new rectangle and it's perfect. Now I'm just going to import my image of my favourite cat. You may have seen this cat in another example that I've done. So what I'm going to do is go to reliefs, and I'm going to import this again. Select Mr. Tim, open. You can see that it's automatically created an image or a relief of my cat. So let's bring that down, and what I'm going to do here is just bring that down to there. Now you can see that I'm not able to snap here. That's because this is locked, the width and the height. So let's turn that off by clicking the padlock. I'm going to snap that onto there. Let's grab this corner, just zoom in here, and I'm going to snap that onto there, like so. So there you can see my cat is the right size. Let's just snap that there. Okay, so what I need to do is bring the cat through the material. Now if I were to do this like previously, where I grab this and bring that through there, you can see what happens is, because there's so much noise in here, it's just creating all of these spikes, and that's not what I want at all. So I just want this to be added onto the top of this flat relief. That's the reason that I created this flat relief. So if I change the Z range to 1mm, select apply, I can't actually see this, and if I were to leave the combine mode as merge high, this wouldn't work. It would just be buried underneath what's already there. So let's take a look at the combine mode, change it to add, so it adds onto the top of what's already there. And I'm going to turn off to paste the outline vector and select paste. And what this has done, it's just added the cat image on top of what's already there. Okay, so here you can see my cat on that little raised portion there. Now if I zoom in on the cat, you can see that I've got quite a lot of noise here. It'd probably be better if I were to smooth this all out, and I'm also going to smooth out the texture at the same time. So let's smooth out the whole of the relief. So if I smooth relief and then select the whole of the relief, apply, you can see that that's smoothed that out nicely. Let's do another one just for good measure, and you can see that that's smoothed my cat out. Okay, now the reason that I've done that is because it works a lot better when you do V-carving to machine the photo here, or this relief. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, let's take a plan view, and I'm going to create some text for this portion here. So let's create vector text, and I've got this Sego script that I want to use. Now if you want to change the font, just select here, and it opens up all of your Windows fonts that are installed, and you can just select any of these. If you want to add fonts into ArtCAM, you just install them like you would within Windows, and they will show up. Okay, so let's change it to, let's use this Sego semi-bold one. Let's click there. Maybe make this a bit twice the size of that, let's say, like so. And let's type in Mr. Tim. Click create. Let's center that, and I'll just move that down like so. And I'm just going to put a little message on the bottom here. Let's do this using the script one that I had earlier, like so. Let's do this, let's say half the size, and I'm going to put always in hearts, like so. Click create. Let's center that, and let's bring that down just so it sits underneath the Mr. Tim bit. Let's say like so. Now you can see here, let's say take a look here, you can see that I've got portions of this text that overlap. I'm going to need this to be the whole, basically one piece. If I were to try and machine this like so, ArtCAM would give me an error message saying that there are sections that overlap. So I've got vector intersections basically. So what I can do is ungroup all of these vectors. If I were to just ungroup vectors, it would still leave parts of these grouped. Okay, so text normally has 2 layers of groups. So you would need to ungroup, and then to completely ungroup would be to ungroup again. So a quick way of doing this is just select ungroup all, and it completely ungroups everything. Okay, so let's draw a box around these. Now, importantly, what I need to do is to deselect the islands that I have on the inside here. Now, the reason that I need to do that is because I'm going to use the World Vectors tool, and if I didn't do that, it would just delete them, okay, because it's not actually trimming to anything. So if I weld the vectors now, it will automatically trim all of those off for me, saving me a lot of time. Okay, so what I can do now is group all of these back together again. I could also group the Mr. Tim if I wanted to with them. Okay, so that's all one piece. Okay, so I'm going to VBit carve that. Okay, so that's pretty much the design done. What I need to do now is start machining this. Okay, and I'm going to do that by, first of all, doing a machine relief to do this. Now, the first thing that I need to do this is to create a boundary. So I can basically haven't got to machine the whole of the relief layer. So what I'm going to do is, because I want to keep this vector here, what I'm going to do is create a copy of it. So if I right click and select copy, and then right click again and select paste. So there are actually 2 vectors over the top of each other there. If I just grab that, move it, you can see that there's still one there. So I'll just undo that, and I'm going to select these 2 wings, and then I'm going to weld these together. Okay, so there you can see I've got this boundary for the whole piece, but I've also got this piece on the inside. Okay, so I've got these 2 boundaries that I have. Now I also need to create some boundaries for this cat vector here. Now the reason that I need to do that is because when I use the machine relief tool, it treats the vector as a center line rather than a boundary. So it needs to be offset outwards by whatever half of the size of the diameter of the tool is. So I'm going to be using, let's say, a 6mm ball nose. I need to offset this by 3mm outwards, because the tool's actually going to overshoot by 3mm. Okay, so if I select that, let's go to offset, do this sharp. offset by 3mm outwards. So there you can see the offset. Okay, so now we can actually machine this and do the machine relief. So if I go to toolpaths and I'm going to select to create a machine relief toolpath, let's make sure that I've got the vector that I just created for the cat there, and also the outside boundary selected, and the area to machine is going to be the selected vectors. Finishing options, let's choose a 6mm ball nose tool, and I'm not really going to use roughing tool for this. I'm just going to go straight in with the 6mm ball nose to do this. So I'm going to define the material, set the Z0 to the top. Now the material thickness is 10.2. It's actually going to be 10mm because at the end I'm going to machine the 0.2 off the top, because I don't want this surface or this texture on the very top edge. Okay, so select OK and calculate now, and this will calculate the toolpaths for me. Okay, so there you can see the finishing toolpath. Now if I want to take a look at this, just right click, simulate the toolpath, and you can see that I've got this finishing toolpath. Now if you zoom in, you can see that the quality on this wing is not amazing. So what I'm going to do is create another machine relief. I'm just basically going to use this first one as a roughing toolpath. Okay, so let's create a new machine relief. Selected vectors. Make sure that the vectors are selected. And what I need to do first of all, because I'm using a smaller tool, I need to offset this again. So let's offset that. And this time I'm going to use, let's try 3mm. So let's offset this by half of the tool diameter, so 1.5, and then I need to select that 1.5 plus the boundary. So finishing tools, 3mm ball nose, and then calculate now. This should give me a much nicer finish, especially for the wings here. So if I simulate that now, you can see it's got in there a lot better. Okay, it's a lot better and there's a lot more detail in there. Now you can see, because I created a boundary for this cat vector here, let me just turn this on, you can see that it's not actually machined anywhere on the inside of here. So what I need to do is bring that down. So I'm going to do an area clearance. Let's select that as the boundary, and I'm just going to blast this away. So let's go to toolpaths, create an area clearance. The finish depth, now I'm not too sure about that because I need to delete the simulation so I can see my cat. So if I hover over a flat area, you can see down the bottom right hand side the Z value is -4.2. Okay, now I need to add a millimetre onto that because of the cat, so take a millimetre off. So the depth is going to be 3.2. Okay, so if I enter for the finish depth 3.2, let's add a tool. Let's use a massive tool for this, largest one that I have. Let's use the offset strategy for this and calculate now. What this will do, if I simulate all of the toolpaths, you just blast that down. Okay, so that's the right height now that I want. Now I'm going to carve the actual cat image using a machine relief, but using a V-bit tool. And this creates a really nice effect. Now we have a few other examples of this up on YouTube, so I suggest that you take a look at those. Go into a lot more detail than what I'm going to go into now. I'm just basically showing you how you can do it at a different depth, so you're not doing it on the 0. So you can see that I'm doing this sunk inside a sine base. Okay, so let's turn on the vectors, and I'm going to choose to do this on the inside vector. Let's just turn off that toolpath there, and I'm going to do a machine relief toolpath, not the whole relief. This is going to be selected vectors. The finishing tool, let's see what V-bits I have. Let's use this large V-bit, this 32mm, 120 degree. Now, a lot of this depends on what angle V-bit that you use. The more acute the angle, obviously the less detail that it's going to get, or the deeper that it's going to need to get in. So let's choose 120. Let's see what this looks like. Click select. Now, an important thing with this is, an important parameter with this is the step over. So at the moment it's set to 8mm. Now I know that that's probably going to be a little bit too much because this is only 100mm or so wide. So let's try half of that to begin with, 4mm. Angle, it's quite nice to set this at a 45 or 30 degree angle. Gives quite a nice effect. Let's calculate that. Okay, so there you can see it's created this toolpath. Now, I can see from that toolpath and from doing this a few times that that's probably not going to be right. It's probably not going to give me the best effect. Okay, but let's just simulate it and see what it does. Okay, so there you can see, I can sort of make out my cat. If I zoom out, you can pretty much see the cat. Okay, but if I zoom in, you can't really see that. It's probably not tight enough, the step over for this. So let's delete the simulation and let's change. That's the whole reason why I left the machine relief open. Let's change the step over. Let's try 2mm. So half of what I've just done, and calculate now. Okay, so that's a lot tighter. So let's simulate this. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, so that looks a lot tighter. You can see that there's a lot more detail. If I zoom out, you can see the cat there. It's probably still probably too much, to be completely honest with you. Let's try changing the step over to, let's say, 2.5. So you can see there's a little bit of trial and error with this. You need to get the step over pretty much perfect. That's looking a lot better. I can actually see my cat in there. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it at that. As I said, if you want to see this in a lot more detail, we have some other examples on YouTube. Okay, so let's do some V-bit carving on that text that I have here. So let's choose this Mr. Tim here. Now I need to make a note of what this depth is on the top of this raised platform here. So if I take a look at the Z value, it's minus 3.911. So that's the start height of my V-bit carving. So it was 3.91. So 3.91. Choose a carving tool. Let's use the small one for this one. Now, it's a good idea to get in the habit of clicking refresh, just so you know what the maximum depth of this is. You don't want this to cut through the base of the material. So I can now calculate now, and let's simulate that. You can see that that's created the carving for that. Now what I need to do is get rid of this texture on the top before I create the profile cut to cut the part out. So what I'm going to do is to select that, and I'm going to offset this inwards like so. Now it doesn't matter where it goes to, I just want to make sure that I get the tool in there. Now you can see that I've selected the wrong thing there, so let's just select that and then I can close that. So let's select these two vectors like so, and then create an area clearance. Finish depth, I want this to be 0.2, so then the actual piece is going to be 10mm thick. And let's add a tool to this. Now, I don't think that the 12mm will actually get in there, so let's use the 6mm end mill. And I want to do this rather than raster because that would take ages to do this. A lot of retract moves. Let's use offset. Calculate now. And then I can simulate that. If I just zoom in here, you can see that it's got rid of all of that texture. Okay, and then finally, all that I need to do is cut the part out. So if we create a profile toolpath, and then select this wing up here, finish depth 10.2, profiling, let's say a 3mm end mill, because I want to make sure that I don't get radii in the corners here, and then select to calculate now. And then I can simulate the toolpath. Okay, so that's cut the part out. If I go to the simulation, I can delete the waste material. So let's auto delete that. And that's left me with my plaque for my cat, Mr. Tim. Now if I want to, I could add a depth colour for this. I want to make it black. So let's add a depth colour of black and then apply. You can see that I've got this black colour on there. Okay, so that's my finished plaque. Now if I want to save this for machining, I'll go to toolpaths, go to save toolpaths here, and you can see that I have all of my toolpaths. I can save toolpaths to separate files for a single headed machine. Append the toolpath details to the file names, so it adds all of this information into the file names. Select browse to select where I want to save this to. So let's go to the desktop. Let's find Mr. Tim. And let's call this Mr. Tim. Like so. Click open. And then importantly, where it says machine file format, this is actually a list of post-processors. Post-processors are basically converters, so they convert the information from ArtCAM toolpath data into data that your machine will understand, and it basically just tells the machine where to go, how to machine something. Now we have over 200 post-processors available within all of the versions of ArtCAM, including ArtCAM Express, and we have post-processors for most machines. If your machine is not listed or you're unsure, please recommend you download the demo version or the trial version. Go through the tutorials, and then at the end you can actually do this and you can save it out and actually try it on your machine. So if you've got any doubts, then please do that. You can see whether it actually works prior to purchasing. So let's use, let's say, an iCarve machine. Select save. Let's open up my folder, and you can see that I've got these toolpaths here, which is just basically text. So if I open up, let's say, the last profile, you can see that this is just basically coordinates and what we call G-code, G commands, just telling the machine what to actually do. Okay, so that brings an end to the demonstration. I hope that you found it useful. Take care. Goodbye.